random junk from the archives.
The actor Bob Hoskins has died. He was 71 and had pneumonia. He retired from acting 2 years ago after revealing he'd been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. One of Britain's best-loved character actors, Bob Hoskins was best known for playing lovable cockneys or rogue gangsters. But he was internationally well regarded. He earned an Oscar nomination for his role in the film Mona Lisa, and one of his most famous TV roles was in the Dennis Potter television drama Pennies from Heaven. But it's in Hollywood movies like Who Framed Roger Rabbit that many will remember him. And we can now see a clip from perhaps what can be called his breakthrough movie, the classic gangland thriller Long Good Friday.
Diabolical liberty.
What is it?
Blown up. He's dead. Eric, he's dead. Car bomb.
Eh?
I was all right. Suffering from shock. He's in the London hospital.
I don't understand.
You need $1 million computer to understand this. You do such a thing, it's outrageous. Outside a church? You don't go crucifying people outside a church, not on Good Friday.
What's the matter, Harold?
Eric's been blown up.
A bomb?
Yeah, in the rolls.
I don't believe it. When?
Just now. Others in hospital suffering from shock. I'm not surprised. She went to church to say her prayers, not to get blown up.
The Long Good Friday, the film that made Bob Hoskins a star. Well, a statement issued on behalf of his wife Linda and his children said earlier this afternoon, "We are devastated by the loss of our beloved Bob." Bob died peacefully in hospital last night, surrounded by family, following a bout of pneumonia. More tributes are being paid and have been paid all afternoon on social media. Samuel L. Jackson tweeted, "Truly saddened by the passing of Bob Hoskins, a truly gigantic talent and a gentleman." Also, the actor and former member of Spandau Ballet, Martin Kemp, tweeted this afternoon, "R.I.P. Bob Hoskins. The Long Good Friday, one of the best movies ever made. You will be missed." Well, our entertainment correspondent, Lizo Mazimba, has been reflecting on his career all afternoon and The Long Good Friday making his name, but a hugely versatile actor. Even if we think of him in that sort of gangland style, he actually had a great breadth.
Absolutely, he could do those hard-edged roles like The Long Good Friday and in Mona Lisa, where he of course got that Oscar nomination and won a BAFTA and a Golden Globe. But at the other end of the scale, he could do comedy. He could do things like the role of Smee alongside Dustin Hoffman's Captain Hook in Steven Spielberg's take on Peter Pan, the film Hook. He could do Who Framed Roger Rabbit, of course, which everyone remembers so fondly. You know, he did light-hearted comedies like Mermaids with Cher. And the thing about him, what often is the mark of a great actor, is when they're in a very bad movie like the Super Mario Brothers game adaptation, they're still very good in it. I mean, the movie, let's be honest, is pretty terrible, but he was still believable. He still made that movie work. So, as you say, you know, a hugely, hugely versatile actor who never actually thought of going into acting particularly. And a few years ago, back in the 1980s, like all British greats, he appeared on Desert Island Discs on BBC Radio 4, and he spoke about how he actually got into the profession where he made his name.
Well, what happened, a mate of mine was auditioning at Unity Theatre for the Featherpluckers, and I went along with him, and they said, "Right, you're next." And I went up and read the part and got the lead.
The story is you were drunk at the time.
Oh, yeah, I was pretty far gone. I said it was just my mate who was supposed to audition. And I got the lead in the play. And the first night, an agent came to see it, Sarah Randall. And she said, "Listen, you've got to take this up professionally." I said, "Well, get us a job and I will." And she did, and that was... I've never been out of work since.
That was 20 years ago.
20 years ago, yeah.
Never out of work since.
No.
That's called talent, isn't it?
I think it's just called sort of perseverance, really.
Not many actors who are never out of work. I mean, we think of him mainly as a film actor, but actually, Pennies from Heaven in the 1970s, a massive, massive drama of its day. I mean, that had a huge impact as well by Dennis Potter.
Absolutely, yes, by Dennis Potter, probably the greatest television writer of his time, of his generation. And that was one of the things about Bob Hoskins. He started his career when it began to really blossom in television, and he never went to Hollywood. Even though, I mean, everyone loves that story about how he was at one point on standby to play Al Capone in The Untouchables by the director Brian De Palma, and of course Robert De Niro ended up playing that part to huge acclaim. But one day Bob Hoskins got in the post a cheque for £20,000 saying thanks for being on standby, or words to that effect. And he then sort of got back in touch with Brian De Palma and thanks for the cheque for 20 grand. Any other films you don't want me to be in? But he never went to Hollywood. People talk about how he'd still do television, he'd still do independent movies. If a project excited him, that was all that mattered to him. So that's why he's left behind this kind of huge body of work. But if you're looking back on what we remember the most, The Long Good Friday, obviously Mona Lisa, and then Who Framed Roger Rabbit, he did what is so common now for so many actors, acting against nothing. But he was one of the very first people to really do that, of course, acting against an animated rabbit that was only put in months after filming. And it's incredible to kind of think that something that we take so for granted was so groundbreaking at the time, but it was. But what made it work was the fact that he actually was so believable in it. If you'd spent the entire movie thinking, well, actually, this is all very clever post-production, it's all been put in later, and that's all very well done, it wouldn't work as a movie. But a few minutes in, you forget that actually all that work has gone into it, and you're just enjoying the story, and that's because he anchored it so well, made it a wonderful film storytelling experience, and that again is one of the marks of a great actor.
And even seeing this footage now, it takes you back, doesn't it? And it still brings a smile. The wonderful Bob Hoskins. Thanks very much, Lisa Muzimba.